Hello again. It's me. It's still the 9th of March and it's still day 21. This video is the bonus video for the day that I wanted to do, and this video is called Things to Replace Video Games With. I feel like this is a video that could be done by anybody, probably has been done by 1,000,001 people. But again, as with all the videos that I'm doing, it's about me talking through things and kind of figuring them out and making them more useful for anyone who's watching, but more importantly, more useful for me. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. So, one of the first things that I picked up to replace video gaming with was reading. Now, I know a lot of people might think reading is kind of boring, or maybe reading is something that they don't really give too much of a consideration for. Can't tell you how many people I've met who have not actually read a book outside of school, or who read books for school and therefore don't want to read books at all outside of school. They tend to see books as more of a chore than an escape. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you are willing to read an article, some clickbaity article about why X is ruining Y and how that's bad for Z, then you're more than capable of reading any of the books that are out there that are, aimed at your intelligence level at least. So breaking that down, there's three sort of categories that I come up with when it comes to reading. The first one that I would suggest is stuff that is fun, particularly week 1, week 2, week 3 of quitting anything, particularly video games. You want to replace it with something that gives you some dopamine hits, gives you that kind of that satisfaction that you would normally get from playing video games. So my suggestion is read stuff that's fun, and if stuff that's fun for you is autobiographies, then have at it. But I would suggest things like fantasy novels, Tom Clancy novels, Dan Brown novels, stuff that's escapist. It's fantastical, or it's out there. It's entertainment. It's reading for entertainment. And again, how you choose to classify that may be entirely up to you. I know people who read history novels as part of their entertainment. I'm one of those people. I like to read non-fiction books as part of entertainment. But if you're struggling with non-fiction, then I would suggest going to fiction. And like I said, fantasy, present time, political thrillers, that kind of thing. If that's your jam, then by all means, have at it. The second category for reading, I would say, is read stuff that makes you better. This category can be sort of summed up with any book that you read that makes you into a better human being, whether it's better how you think, better how you act, better at your job, better at your relationships, better at interpersonal relationships, like with friends, and maybe not intimate relationships or close relationships. Anything, better with money, anything along those lines that makes you into a better person. If you can get any enjoyment from reading, and particularly when you're quitting, motivating stuff or stuff that's going to make you better, motivating books or books that will make you better, they will be of benefit. They'll be a benefit to you directly, but you're also going to have some escapist enjoyment from reading stuff about making you better. And you might find that the stuff that you read you can put to use right away and as part of your quitting. So that's another thing that you could look at doing. And then finally, given that today's society is so political, I would highly recommend that if you want to read stuff and you want to read things that are going to challenge you, go out and find a book written by someone that you don't like politically. For me, for example, that would be, say, going and getting a book about why I'm a racist, or why why men are all sexist pigs, or whatever it is. A viewpoint that I disagree with, I would go out and find a book about that viewpoint, and then I would read it and challenge myself to read the whole thing with an open mind to see if there's anything I could learn from that viewpoint. I think it's useful in today's society to do that, so this is an opportunity for you to do that. Alright, moving away from the obvious boring one of reading, the next one up is to create. And I think every human being has the potential to be somewhat creative. It's a little harder the older you get, and if you've been burning out your brain cells with drugs or constant video gaming use, you may not be very tapped into what you're good with creating. But here's a couple of examples. If you're good with your hands, or if you've in the past been good with your hands, maybe take up woodworking or building something or carving. You can buy the tools for some very basic woodworking. You know, a circular saw and a drill goes for about $200. You can get them even cheaper than that. Buy some lumber and build a desk or a bench or a seat or a stool or something. Just very basic DIY projects that allow you to create something with your hands. Or if you're more of an artist when it comes to creating with your hands, maybe you're looking to do like carving, for example. You buy a blank piece of wood, go out and get yourself a set of carving knives and whatnot, and then just teach yourself or get on YouTube and learn how to carve wood. There's always going to be a market for it. If you have people in your family, they see that you're doing something creative with this medium, most likely you'll end up with people who want to have that sort of stuff. Moving away from being good with your hands necessarily is the more artistic side of creation, and I actually have a personal part of this. For me is writing. I've found that writing every day, particularly setting a time limit and saying, okay, 40 minutes, 45 minutes in the morning to just write, no matter what it is that I write, whether it's hot shit or it's really good. If I'm writing for 45 minutes in the morning, some good stuff gets in there, and it's been nice to see those little nuggets start to show up in the writing that I've been doing every morning. But if you're not much of a writer, maybe you're a person who likes to draw. Drawing comics or graphic novels, pictures of your family, your friends, whatever it is. Or another friend of mine who was going through a rough patch took up painting. Not something that he was particularly good at, but he threw himself into it and actually turned out some pretty nice pieces. And the emotional changes that he went through during the quit process actually lent themselves to his artwork. You could see the process of where he was when he started versus where he was when he finished. And by painting or drawing or writing, you can create a physical, visible reference of your path from A to Z in terms of your quitting path. And then my advice when it comes to the creation thing is to set yourself a schedule. Pick a time during the day that you know you can do it. Pick an amount of time that you know you can put into it, and then do it every day. The repeating of it and the constantly going back in and doing it over and over again will mean that you'll get better at it, you'll get more productive at it, and you'll end up enjoying it more because you'll become more competent. I know for a fact human beings tend to enjoy things that they enjoy doing things that they're good at because you get that dopamine reward from being competent at stuff. So I think people, once you get good at these things, once you've been doing them for a while, you'll get a kick out of being good at those things. Something else, and the third category that I want to suggest here is working out. Far too few people take care of themselves physically. And that's not just to say that they eat well or that they don't get run over by trains, but actually going out and putting your body through physical stress intentionally. Our bodies are designed to deeply reward physical effort and physical struggle. And physical struggle is, in my mind, the easiest way for us to do it in small batches is to go work out. Ask yourself this question. Am I a fat bastard? You're sitting there thinking maybe I'm too skinny to be saying that. I have a gastro issue. That's why I'm as skinny as I am. For me, the opposite is true. I struggle to put on weight. And as a result, I'm always rake thin. Again, those of you who are fat are going to go, oh, what a terrible problem to have. Well, yeah, you have Crohn's and then you tell me how enjoyable it is being skinny. Anyway, if you're a fat bastard, or if you're skinny like me and you struggle to keep weight on, get in shape. The benefits are numerous. The main benefits, you're going to look better, you're going to feel better, and you're going to meet some new people. And who knows, amongst those new people that you meet, you might meet someone that ticks your boxes. And you both are on the same path of self-improvement, which is a huge portion of a relationship sort of connection. The fact that you're both looking to improve yourselves is one of the greatest ways to start a relationship, because you're going in the same direction. You know, you're not working opposite each other. Here's some pointers about getting in shape. It's easy for me to sit here and go, get in shape, like I'm in shape. The first thing I would suggest you do, if you haven't been to the gym before, or if you don't really know what you're doing in the gym, is to find yourself a trainer and interview them over the phone about what they are specializing in, what they have experience with. If you're a middle-aged, overweight mom who wants to quit marijuana, and you're trying to get back into the gym, you should look for a female trainer who specializes in, or a male trainer if you can find one, but typically this is more in a woman's sphere. Find a trainer who specializes in middle-aged, overweight moms, rather than the guy who looks really good, but he specializes in looking good. And you're at the point where you're starting, you're not ready to go that deep into weight training yet. You just want someone who can coach you on the basics. Conversely, if you've had some experience in the gym and your thing is, I want to get shredded, I want to be at like a bodybuilding kind of body, I do want to gain muscle and I want to have a six-pack and blah, then go look for someone who can train you in that type of working out. Someone who has experience with bodybuilding and someone who has experience with hypertrophy training and, you know, scheduling a lot of training sessions and that sort of thing. And then once you, I probably should have said this before the last one, but it fits in wherever. Whatever you do something that you like the look of. Look at all the different ways that you can exercise. There's running, there's cycling, there's lifting weights, there's Olympic weightlifting, there's CrossFit, there's kettlebell only workouts where you're throwing around cannonballs with handles on them. And then there's calisthenics, there's outdoor, there's indoor, there's yoga, there's a bunch of different ways that you can get in shape. Review them all, find what you like, and then once you've decided what you like the look of, go find a trainer who can teach you how to do the basics in that type of working out. And then once you have the basics down, start to notice the changes and appreciate the changes that you see in yourself. Okay, so we're up to number 4. The fourth category I would suggest is that you reach out to your friends and that you set up regular hangouts. One of the most important things to me that helps me with whenever I'm quitting is to have regular social contact with my friends. Now I know right now we have COVID, so it's a little harder to get at your friends. I'm not going to lie, I have been visiting with my friends since the start of the pandemic, and that hasn't changed, outside of whether or not those people were going through a testing process. If they suspected that they had it, they would isolate themselves from our group. But we have between 8 to 10 people that have been meeting up two or three times a week. People come and go with their sort of schedules, but we've been meeting up 2 or 3 times a week and training together, and it's been excellent for maintaining mental health. Social connections are absolutely crucial to living healthy lives, and you can replace video games with the boredom from not being able to play video games by having more social interactions with your friends. This means things like, if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, you set up sessions for Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's in person or over Zoom. You can work out together. If you have friends that work out or friends who want to work out with you, it's another way to get them in to hang out, and that's one that I've been doing a lot recently. Just regular basic hangouts. Have them to come over and just sit down with a drink and talk about what's been going on in your life. Maybe all you need is to just talk to someone about how difficult it's been quitting something. And if that's the case, those hangouts are going to be invaluable. And if you ask your friends, look, I need social contact regularly, and I would like it if we could hang out every week. I guarantee you'll find a friend who's like, yeah, that's fine, of course we'll hang out a week. And if you're already doing that, then great, you're on the right path. What I would suggest underneath the category of reaching out to your friends is that you get away from social media as the way that you reach out to your friends. Unless you're in a position where your friends are on the other side of the country or in a different state, or they're in a quarantine situation, I would suggest that you move away from social media, because social media is another one of those addictive cycles, and the search for social media and the validation and the nonsense that comes with all of that, it's not going to help you. and the type of social hangouts that you're going to have on those, again, assuming that you have physical access, it's not going to be as good as the social element that you can get from in person. I realize that it's probably a little bit irresponsible to say that, given that we have COVID. You should know who the friends are that you have that are in your immediate bubble that you are safe to be around without having to social distance or wear masks. And I'll leave that up to you to decide. But I can tell you for a fact, having done it for the last year and a half, the social contact that I've had with my friends, the physical in-person contact, has been absolutely crucial for keeping my mental state up during some pretty rough times over the last year and a half. And then I guess the last thing I'd like to bring up is you need to remember what you like to do. Video games have a really good way of kind of erasing, and because it's tied to that dopamine anticipatory reward response, when your brain thinks about what will make it feel better, the things that are the most effective at that are going to be at the top, and the things that are less effective are going to be ranked further and further down. And for me, whenever I would think about something to do, whether it was, curing boredom or got done with work and I wanted to do something that made me feel good, to relax, video games was always, alongside of marijuana use, was always the first thing that came up. And it can kind of bully out some of the other things that you may have actually enjoyed to do, that gave you pleasure, but that you weren't able to remember, or you didn't have the same sort of neurological connection to it, because video games had come in and bullied all of them out into the corner. So take some time to write down and think back. For me, it was thinking back about what was the habit. Like when I was younger and I used to really enjoy reading when we were poor and I didn't have video games, what was it about reading that enticed me? What was it about reading that I desired about it? And what was it that I enjoyed? And then once I figured that out, I started realizing, oh yeah, it was escapist fiction and historical stuff. And so then I started reading those things, and as a result, they're keeping me interested. If you remember that you were interested in painting, or you wanted to get better at writing, you wanted to write a book or a short story or whatever, think about the ways that doing that made you feel good, or it made you feel that sort of same pleasure response or the relaxing response that you would have gotten maybe from video games. Because that way, you're going to think of something. And if you don't have anything, like you're a kid who's just, and when I say kid, I mean you're a young person who's only had screens and video games as the thing that you do, then now more than ever, the younger you are, the better you start with this. Now more than ever is the time to look for something else. Because I can promise you, when you get to my age, going on 38 this year, if you're still playing video games as the majority of what you do, there's a good chance that you're not going to be happy with the way that you turned out. You're going to look at other people around you who aren't playing video games habitually, and you're going to ask yourself, why do they seem like they have better lives, more interesting lives? Why am I still in the basement playing video games? And yeah, people are going to argue. People would probably argue or get mad and be like, oh, video games are social and That's true, they can be, but none of that is as good as in-person social interaction, period. And do you really want to be at 38 if you have kids at that point, with kids that see you as the dad that video games all the time? I get the feeling that you may have a higher vision for yourself than that. And that while doing it in moderation, or doing it with the kids, it's a rainy day or it's a cold day, you don't want to go outside, yeah, vegging a little bit with your kids, no problem. But habitual video gaming at 38, that was one of the main turning points for me, was that mental image of myself as an adult male still playing video games like I was 20 years old. And so, yeah, so I would think back to what it is that you like to do. And if you don't have anything that you remember, again, because you're young and video games is all you have, go out and try stuff. Just go out and try things. Try rock climbing. Try Dungeons and Dragons. Try getting into a band or learning an instrument if you know how to play an instrument, or you're interested in music. Go learn go get into another course of study that allows you to learn a skill that you might not have had. Learn about how the stock market works. just keep throwing yourself out there. And for every failure that you find doing this, I promise you that it will help shape the things that you like. Don't beat yourself up about it if you do fail, or if you get 6 weeks in, you're like, this isn't as good as I would have liked. Put it down, move on to the next thing. When you're young, you have the time to do that. And the more things that you try, the more likely you are to be in your 30s with a good list of things that you can go, oh yeah, actually I do remember liking mountain biking, or I do remember really enjoying rock climbing, or basketball refereeing, or playing basketball, or volleyball, or whatever. So get out there and try some stuff. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Like I said, this was a talk out about things that we can replace video games with. And I hope this has been useful. It's been useful for me, which is the main reason why I'm doing this. So, yeah, thanks me, and ka kite ano.